Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready?
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Everybody's doing okay today. Kind of another sort of gloomy day out. It started off nice, but ended up raining a little bit, and then it kind of stopped, and I don't know. It's it's hard to say what the hell's going on. Anyway, lots to talk about, I guess, again. This morning here I was on Reddit here, and I'm always, looking up Reddit because I get, heads ups on things, what's going on the news and shit like that. And let me see if I can find this thing here. Yeah, there was this Pam Bondi here bitching about how people should be sent away for 20 years for vandalizing a fucking car. But, what about these fucking assholes that are destroying people's retirement accounts? I mean, they're going to just, get a slap on the wrist, And, I feel like, this is really upside down America here. This is a woman here who can be bought. And at the same time ignoring the fact that, hey, people were vandalizing the Capitol January 6th, right? And some dying as a result. And we didn't do anything, and then Trump pardon those people that did it. Okay, anyone get 20 years for that? Okay, but no, you go out and you fucking key scratch a fucking Tesla, and you can be arrested and thrown away for 20 years. That's what she wants, but it's not really what she wants. It's what Trump wants, and therefore it's what she wants. Okay. I just think that it's got a lot of people talking, but I think, what are we really talking about here? Okay, we're talking about a woman who's going to abuse her powers in order to go after vandalism. With everything going on in this country, she's going to go after these people. And I'm thinking, isn't there anything better for her to do except that? Or is she just there waiting on what Trump tells her to do? So in other words, her job doesn't mean anything to her. Her real job is to just do what Trump tells her to do. She's just occupying an office that she has really no interest in occupying, but she's going to sit there because, hey, Trump's going to call me at some point and ask me to do something, and that's what my job is. Okay, well, that's not what her fucking job is. Okay, she's not to be a lackey for the administration. In fact, if Trump himself does something wrong, it's her job to do something to stop him. She's not supposed to take a side here. But, anything that Trump touches, you know what I'm saying? It's all corrupted. But I just feel like it's laughable, and the rest of the world can't really, make any sense out of it, and I can't blame them because I can't either, and a lot of other people can't. Nothing makes sense about what's going on here. When you got CEOs who price people out of their homes, and deny them health care, they're given golden parachutes. Okay, no 20 years there for ruining people's lives. But if it's somebody's car, okay, yeah, you can't do that. You just can't do that. So anyway, I had talked about that and commented on it, and some asshole was trying to argue with me about it, and the first reply I gave them was, I don't care what MAGA thinks. Then he writes back and says, oh, I'm not MAGA, I'm an American. I replied again, I don't care what MAGA thinks. Meaning to say, I know you're MAGA. You're trying to pretend you're not, but I know you are, because if you're going to sit there and defend this shit, you are MAGA, okay? I don't want to hear your bullshit excuse for why this is justified, because it ain't. Any person with any ounce of sanity will see through that and say, she's just being a lackey, okay? This is mob rule here, mobster rule. That's what it is. She's the guy you hire to go assassinate somebody, okay? I mean, that's the way Trump is going to use her. Use your power. That power is your gun, and you go out there and you assassinate these vandals. Okay, that's what he's doing, because that's all Trump knows. Okay, he only knows how to rule by threatening people and scaring them, and retribution, retaliation. Okay, he's not a man who brings people together like a president should. He's a guy who drives wedges between people and separates them, having one against the other. He's anti-American in every fucking respect. Okay, he's been so fucking corrupted by business practices that he can't even think logically. Okay. So anyway, I got another aspect of how these people are just not thinking logically. It goes to my first video here from the iHip girls, and they're talking about how MAGA Christian evangelicals are screwing up this country, starting from where they're from in Oklahoma, spreading out. All right, so let's go to that video here and listen to them talk about that.
Part of Trump's cult are the crazy Christian sect, and we need to do a little check-in with the MAGA crazy Christians. Let's listen to Charlie Kirk on angels breeding with humans.
So I got one more kind of wonky theological question that I think the audience will appreciate. In I think it's Genesis 3 or 4. I think it is 3. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the scriptures say the angels came down and actually bred with mankind. Am I wrong in that reading? And do you touch on the Nephilim in your book? And What are we to make of this?
This is crazy. This is batshit, but Charlie Kirk has tens of millions of followers. You might remember he was one of the first guests on Governor Gavin Newsom's podcast. When you give space to this kind of crazy, magical thinking, democracy dies. This is insanity. This is not a wonky question. This is a dipshit question. And we have to start calling out America's crazy Christian problem. This is insane.
Well, the cognitive dissonance that it takes to be a fundamentalist evangelical Christian is exactly the kind of cognitive dissonance it takes to be a Trump supporter. You cannot believe in facts. You cannot value science and expertise. You have to go straight magical thinking to make it work.
Okay. And then next up, we have a MAGA pastor. And this was a video that he put out before Trump's cave on the tariffs. Listen to this.
Tariffs, they are not just policy. They are prophecy. You've got to get that deep in your mind tonight, because now that globalism is dead, it is literally Trump against the world. He has turned the world upside down, and now the nations are clamoring. Everything is unbalanced. And I know mainstream media thinks that's bad, but they couldn't be further from the truth. This is the bold
So he's saying that these tariffs are prophecy. I mean, this is just, and here's the thing. We have a lot of international viewers. You guys, we live in Oklahoma, the buckle of the Bible Belt. This is real. This is the shit that people on the East and West Coast and big blue cities don't get. A lot of Trump's base, they believe this shit. They go to the Bible and they believe in angels breeding with man, and they think that Trump is somehow a prophet.
Right.
And they think that he is this vessel for God to implement, his fight against demons in spiritual warfare. And as crazy as that sounds, I am telling you, people believe this. As an atheist growing up in this hellscape Bible Belt, I've had so many people look me in the eye, dead serious, and say, you're going to go to hell. Meanwhile, these people had fucked up marriages, fucked up families, nothing appealing at all that would make me want to have a piece of their alleged serenity or answers to existentialism. But this magical thinking is at the epicenter of Trumpism, and it has got to be addressed, because what they're trying to do is put this type of thinking into public schools. They're trying to fund it because this is not critical thinking. This is crazy Christian thinking.
Well, that's why they need it in schools. That's why they want to take history out of history books, because they want to be able to completely control the population with all this horse shit. And this guy, I don't care what Trump did. He would say it was prophecy. He doesn't care about facts or expertise. He is straight up propaganda.
All right. Next up, we have MAGA Christians as though they are in a relay race with Trump, and he hands the baton. We have to dehumanize immigrants because that is a problem that MAGA Christians have. Jesus would have been with the immigrants and helped the poor and helped the sick. And this is antithetical to the MAGA message. So here we have William Wolfe. He is a Christian nationalist, and here's what he has to say about mass deportations and the dehumanizations of immigrants.
White House Faith Office, I think Christians want to see mass deportations. You'll see a lot of sort of evangelical organizations attacking Trump's immigration policies and priorities. They're astroturf, they're left-leaning, they're using evangelical in a way that is not really historically accurate. But I'm telling you, I think Southern Baptists and Christians want to see this happen. And so the work of CBL is giving me the opportunity to do things like that. And that makes much more of a difference, I hope, in the long run than even a picture with the president.
And that's the point. The point is we want to dehumanize. We want to make sure that any message from the faith that is about helping people that need help is completely squashed. And I just want to point out, he mentioned the Southern Baptists, the hellfire and damnation people. They have a huge fucking problem with molesting little kids. And so the fact that these institutions are allowed to breathe and further indoctrinate people into this hate that causes generational racism, and they do it subsidized by the American taxpayers because they don't pay taxes, and they have a political agenda that infects generations of Americans, is just inherently evil and anti-democratic.
Well, and if you look at the people that were supporting slavery in the South, it was all the evangelical rah-rah Christian. It is a generationally taught hate other people because you are special and you are better.
Okay, next up, we have a Trump cultist that is mad at people that are mad at Trump. Play the clip.
A day or two. Come on. We inherited 4 years of absolutely horrible economy. And President Trump has got in there already turning things around. Gas prices are going down. Eggs are going down. And, I really believe that I can't believe how impatient Americans are, but I believe it's going to happen faster than we realize. And we're on.
So this was a big move that Trump made, I think, that helped him win. And this is where Democrats err. The entire time Biden was in office, Biden was fixing things. He was passing bipartisan legislation. He was the author of the best COVID comeback economy, the envy of the world, but he never took victory tours. And so in the silence of those victory tours, the narrative was able to arise via Trump and these crazy Christians and Fox propaganda network that somehow Biden was not running a good economy. And he was old, visibly old. There's no question, but he was all there. But Trump was able to narrate and define the narratives that somehow this Biden economy was terrible. And so here you have this pastor who's just picking up that baton and saying, we just came out of the worst economy ever. Meanwhile, at the time that he aired this was before Trump's blink on the tariffs and the institution of the 90-day pause. This guy is saying, be patient. We just had a terrible economy. So this is gaslighting to a audience that their default setting is not to critically think. Their default setting is that they're religious, and they have been indoctrinated and told whenever they have a critical thought, God can hear you. God knows what you're saying. That's blasphemy, and that's a sin. And I think this dissonance creates a psychosis, if you will, in this sect of the American public. Because if you think that every single thought you have is being supervised and then goes onto a list, if you're a good girl or a bad girl or a good boy or a bad boy, it would make you absolutely insane. And then critical thinking, the one thing that our brains were meant to do, is something that you're taught is sin. I mean, this is a real fucked up cult, in my opinion.
Well, and you also have the extra layer of don't believe your eyes, don't believe how you feel, believe what I'm telling you. And that's exactly what Trump does. And the MAGA supporters, they don't believe the reality. They look at a picture and Trump says, oh, I had the most people at an inauguration ever. They don't look at the pictures and say, my eyes belie that. They just go with what he says. And that's because it's been cultivated since jump for these people.
Yeah. And, so many people of faith think that their faith is a choice. And I don't want to dismiss people that have some form of spirituality that is a beneficial guiding light in their life. But generally speaking, in the United States, particularly in the Bible Belt, the religion that people have here is very off-putting. And they think that they chose their religion, when in fact, their religion is a default. They were indoctrinated in it based on two things: geography, where they were born, and number two, the time and the era in which they were born. So if you were born in, the 70s, the 50s to current in the Bible Belt, in the United States of America, you're not going to be a believer in the Greek gods. More than likely, you're going to be an evangelical Christian, yet they claim this superiority over the answers of existentialism, and they shun science. And I'm telling you guys, it is tens of millions of people. The mega churches in Oklahoma, these pastors are grifters. They know how to keep people hooked in all of this stuff. There's one particular church in Oklahoma that is now it's expanded to other states. It's called Life Church. And this guy, Craig Groeschel, he tries to play like he's the hip pastor with the, cool jeans and cool hairstyle. He's a total grifter, multimillionaire, author, and a huge Trumper, but he tries to keep his Trumpism silent, but it always slips out. And his flock, the people in his flock, the people that I know that attend this church, are not big thinkers. They are racist, but they think that they're somehow like liberal Christians, yet somebody's gay, they believe that that person is going to hell. These mega churches are an absolute cancer in this country. And if you dare speak out against them, they criticize you and claim that they're being persecuted. And let me just remind everybody that science welcomes insight. It welcomes critical thinking. It welcomes criticism. Whenever you see an institution that claims to have all of the answers of the universe, and then you say, hey, that didn't seem right. What do you mean you have a Venmo? What do you mean you're trying to have 25 different churches? That sounds like a grift to me. Well, then they're being persecuted. So they weaponize their religion against the marginalized. And then when you criticize or call them out, then they claim persecution. This is at the epicenter of Trumpism. And I can show you this because I thought this was AI. But this is not. This is a real video. The audience is real. Everything about this is real. And this is the epicenter of America's crazy Christian problem. Watch this. So what this is, for those of you that are listening, not watching, is it is a woman in a ball gown, black tie, and she's at some big mega church, wretched. I'm sure the architecture is terrible, but that's neither here nor there. And she is painting a portrait of Trump. And at the end of it, it's Trump with a Christian cross. And this is the intersection of this authoritarian cult with the easiest prey. The easiest prey to indoctrinate in this cult are the people who believe that critical thinking is a sin. That if you were to say, now, wait a minute, hold up. Did Noah, an 800, 900-year-old man, genuinely get 2 giraffes, 2 hippos, 2 rattlesnakes, and goes on and on about all the species and put them on a boat and float around with them? If you were to ask that question, these kids are taught that is blasphemy. That is a sin. You don't question. You have to be obedient, blind obedience. How does authoritarianism take off? Blind obedience. That's what Trump is getting from people right now. This is the connection, and this crazy Christian problem in America has to be addressed, and politicians are too scared to address it because they're afraid that moderate Christians will not like them or think that they're somehow persecuting people in their faith. And that's why I think this is a very important time for non-believers and for people that are not biblical literalists to all stand up for marginalized people and for democracy, because this shit is fucking batshit crazy. And these people are in charge of us right now.
Right. And these are the same people that are rah-rah the Bible, that when that bishop on the inauguration breakfast told Trump about feeding the poor, helping the sick, all of those things, they were rabidly critical of her and how she was so wrong because they worship capitalism first and foremost. And just like you said, obedience is key.
Yep. Blind obedience is key in evangelical Christianity and cult-like Christianity, which is what we have in Oklahoma, which is what Life Church and other mega churches around here are, and grifters, total for-profit institutions. And they need blind obedience to keep the grift going. Authoritarians need blind obedience so that their authoritarian regimes can take off. These two things are inherently connected, and I'm hoping that some politicians can openly start talking about this crazy Christian problem, because that's what it is. All right, we're on our way to 1 million. We'll see you all later.
Helping people that need help. That's one of the basic things about what a Christian is supposed to be. But I really have doubts now that that phrase even can be applied to that religion. Okay? Especially when it comes out of these fucking mega churches. These are people that are not helping people. No. If people need help, they slap their fucking hands away. Okay? Don't pester me. That's what they do. They don't help anybody. In fact, they tell these people to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and press on. In other words, don't expect the government to come in and help you. No. If you're suffering, it's because you're supposed to. Your God is punishing you. No, you could say that about anything, and that excuses you from doing, your earthly duties as a Christian. There's nothing in the Bible that says anything of that nature, but somehow they believe that and they think it came from the Bible. It's like, can I see your Bible for a second? Let me look at that. Let me read that. Bible that I read didn't say a goddamn thing in there about fucking slapping people away when they need help. Okay? In fact, it tells you the opposite, to actually go out of your fucking way to help people. Because we're all brothers and sisters, right? Isn't that what it says in there? We're all brothers and sisters. So if you're going to slap the hand away of a stranger who needs help, then you can easily slap the hand away from your sister, your brother, your father, your mother. Okay? If they came to you for help. What the hell kind of person does that make you? This brings me back to something I was talking about with a friend today here about William Shatner. Okay? And I know a lot of people who watch this probably already gonna know what I'm gonna talk about. But when Leonard Nimoy passed away, William Shatner did not show up for his funeral. Okay, he didn't, and he was confronted with that. And his answer, and I can't remember exactly how he said it, but I'm gonna paraphrase. He said he had obligations somewhere that took a lot of time and effort to put together, that he needed to be at some event. Okay, and I don't know what it was, but he needed to be there. And I'm thinking, well, do you think those people that you made this agreement with would have not understood that you had to back out because this happened? I mean, if anyone knows William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, they know these two have been a pair since the fucking 60s. They go back decades. They're friends. I mean, they've had their arguments and stuff, but they've worked together. They've made TV shows together. They've made movies together. Okay? They've been in commercials together. Christ, YouTube is all kinds of fucking commercials. Okay? They've done all kinds of things together. I mean, they've done interviews with each other, everything. These people go back a long time. So anybody would understand, oh shit, his friend died. Well, okay, so he can't make it because of that. Who wouldn't understand? So why did William Shatner think, well, I got an obligation, I have to do this? So you're just assuming that they're going to get mad at you because you did that when they knew what the hell the reason was? It was all over the fucking news that Nimoy had passed away. But he didn't show up to the funeral, thinking, oh. So in other words, if I have a thing that I got to be at, and my father died, or my mother died, or a good friend of mine died, then, hey, I don't have to go to that funeral. You know, and then after the funeral, did anyone see him go to the Nimoy family or visit the grave or whatever? You know, did you hear anything of that? I didn't. Okay? So, how does this bring me back to what, this thing about the Christians slapping people's hands away when they want help? Well, that's kind of how I saw that. I'm not saying Shatner's a Christian. I don't know if he is or not, okay? That doesn't matter. Fact is, it's not human. Okay? A person with any feeling would have called up the fellow and said, look, I can't make it. My best friend just died. I have to be there. I got to be there for his family. I got to be there for my friends. They would have said, sure. If having him at this event was that important, they would have understood. They'd have postponed it. They would have worked with him about this after the funeral, okay? I'm sure they would have done it. All right? No big deal. Go to your funeral, okay? We offer our condolences. That's what would have been happening. But no, I had to be at this event. I couldn't be at that funeral. That's him. He's speaking for people he probably didn't, that would have told him the exact opposite. Okay? To me, that was cold. So when you got people like this that are basically indoctrinated into thinking that, oh, if these people come to you for help, you slap their hand away and tell them, no, you help yourself. If you're suffering, it's God's will. That doesn't look good for God. And I don't see why, if there is a God, why he would have let people go around down here saying that shit. Because that would piss me the fuck off. I mean, if in the Bible it says don't worship false idols, then he's a jealous God. Then, hey, if you're down here saying shit like that, don't help anybody, when it says clearly in the Bible that you should, then, hey, your ass is the one that's going to be on the line for not helping, right? If God's going to be that way about it, then you people out there slapping people's hands away when they need help, you're the one that's going to suffer for that in the end, not the person who's looking for help. Okay? You guys have got it completely backward, and it's a very convenient thought because it absolves you from any responsibility to be a Christian. So these people here, what are they really about? It's not about the religion. When you got some bitch on a fucking stage wearing a dress, painting a picture of Donald Trump, and then putting a crucifix on it, that's all by design, my friends. It doesn't mean a thing except, oh, you got to love Trump because Trump is Christian. Oh, really? Jeez, here we are talking about people that slap people's hands away when they need help, and they bring Donald Trump on the stage about that as he's the epitome, you know, the peak of fucking Christianity. Isn't that a fucking thing? What kind of a church is that? That's certainly not Christianity. That's a government religion. That's what that is. That is a government religion. That's a political religion. That has nothing to do with Mormonism, Christianity, you know, Judaism, all that stuff, okay? It has nothing to do with that. This is a cult, my friends. A cult. Whatever they name these churches where they're doing shit like that, okay, they need to rename them as the Church of Donald Trump and the Church of MAGA, because these people are not what they claim to be. Angels mating with people. Any woman out there got pregnant by an angel? You know, I don't know. Hey, that's a question. Every woman should, you know, hear that question. Let's find the woman out there who's been impregnated by an angel, okay? All right? Let's find a woman out there, okay? And forget about the story of Mary, the Holy Mother and stuff, okay? Because that comes from a book that is filled with all kinds of contradictions, okay? So we can take that as a science fiction story that happened. Jesus was not born that way, okay? Let's get that straight. He wasn't divine. They made him out to be divine by doing things that no other person in human history has ever been able to accomplish, okay? But for some reason, you know, people wanted to, imbue some sort of divinity on him because they loved the man so much. Well, I can understand loving a guy for the things that he said, but let's not get carried away. He didn't have powers. What he had was the gift to tell people what was right and wrong, and a good way to do it, okay? He had the power of speech. So did Gandhi. But nobody's has yet told people, like, oh, Gandhi made the blind sighted again. You know, haven't done that yet because, hey, no one's going to believe it if it was said. You know, we got a little more common sense, but who knows about later on. But anyway, these people here going around saying, oh, angels have mated with people. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure that's happened a lot. Mm-hmm. Okay. If angels can do that, so can the devil, and that might explain why Trump is around, because he is a son of Satan. Okay, that I could believe, I guess, you know, because the man is so hateful. So if angels, and there's good angels and there's bad angels, okay, heaven and hell, right? We got a plus and a minus. So you got bad angels. So if good angels can impregnate people, so can the bad ones, right? So maybe that's where Hitler and Trump and Mussolini, all these motherfuckers here that's ever caused harm in this world, maybe that's where they came from in reality. It's easy to believe that, because if you're going to argue with people who think angels can mate with people, then, hey, you can argue with them that, hey, well, bad angels are doing it too. Okay? Who do you think's going to win out in an argument about, you know, something like that about magic? Nobody. It'll end into a fucking war is what'll happen. A holy war. That's why you can't listen to MAGA. That's why I don't listen to MAGA. Because MAGA, even when they're just talking about politics, their arguments sound like we're talking about angels impregnating people. Okay? Because they think Trump is this great thing, that good things are going to come from him. We just got to wait. Okay? They got faith. Faith in a goddamn 36 convicted felon. 36-time convicted felon. Okay? A sexual offender. You got faith in that, right? Your false idol, the one God told you never to fucking follow, okay? You're following him. You're doing exactly what he said you weren't supposed to do. You know, you talk about the end of days. Well, that was one of the signs of the end of days, that people were going to follow a false prophet. And you guys created this prophet. He did not introduce himself as one, but you bestowed that on him. Okay? So therefore, you guys are following a false prophet. God, you know, I wish, you know, people could understand this and see, you know, I mean, because I was raised in, you know, with the Catholic religion and stuff like that, thank God that I kind of grew out of it, because I could see the hypocrisy in it as I was getting older. And then what put the icing on the cake was to see how all these priests that were out there molesting kids, all right, were being protected by the fucking church. Okay? And getting away with it for the most part. All the way up to and including the Pope. If there was nothing in the world that could disillusion me the way that, I mean, I'll tell you, that right there, and it just justified what a friend of mine had said to me about all religions. They're all created by man, therefore they are all flawed. There's no such thing as a perfect religion. You know, your priests, your popes, your rabbis, they're all human beings at the end of the day. And they're all going to have fights with their darker half. Okay? So to put these people up on a pedestal and make them icons of your neighborhoods and society is wrong. They are no better, they are no worse than you or I or anybody. Okay? That's something that our older generations would never admit or ever accept from me saying something like that, okay? Because they grew up that if you didn't believe, you were going to get a stick across your ass, okay? They were beaten into submission to believe in their religion, okay? They were beaten into it. You know, my father went to a fucking convent as a kid. They used to beat the kids like you wouldn't believe in there when they would do something wrong. It was fear. You know, teaching through fear is what they did in that school. But my father didn't give him a break. Okay, he took the licks, he kept at it. You know, he was a troublemaker in that school. Okay, so yeah, that's the way they indoctrinate you. They might as well have been waterboarding the kids, as far as I'm concerned, because hey, they were like one step away from that. As far as I'm concerned, these fucking nuns that were teaching these schools were hateful. You know, I'm going to say all of them were, but I think a good portion of them were, because hey, you know, these women, you know, they don't have any other life except being a nun. Okay? They got to follow these rules, you know, no husband, no fucking nightlife. No, they can't do anything. So, Jesus, that would make people fucking pissed after a while, right? So let's take it out on the kids. Jesus. You know, it was a bad fucking thing. And they still around. These places still around. Okay, and I'm sure maybe they don't beat on them as much like they used to, because now we frown on that sort of thing. Okay, but I'm sure that, you know, the strict regime of believing all these biblical things and stuff like that is still in play, and the fact that we have mega churches and all that in there confirms that, and therefore these people are being indoctrinated into a political ideology, which is conservatism to the extreme. Okay, that's where MAGA, you will find MAGA in that extreme right there. That's why I don't talk to them when they try to talk to me and contradict me or argue with me. Block. You're blocked. I'm not going to waste my breath talking to these folks, okay? I'm just not. Because I know it's like trying to turn Al-Qaeda against itself. You're never going you know, it's never going to happen. All right, so the best thing to do at MAGA is just to shut the door. They come knocking, don't open the door. Say, I'm not talking to MAGA. I don't care what you think. If you're MAGA, shut up. I don't want to hear it. Okay? Anything you say is going to be stupid anyway, so I don't even want to go down the same road again that I've gone down 10 times before with you folks, and you just don't care. So why even talk to me? If you're just there to start a fight with me, I don't want to hear it. Okay? I don't want to hear it. Just going to shut the door on you and keep on keeping on. Okay? And I think that pisses them off more than anything, is the fact that you just ignore them and you just keep doing what you're doing. They don't like that. They want to engage you. They want to get you talking, to piss you off. That's what they want, but I ain't going to give it to them. Not going to give it to them. You know, and you're going to find a lot of these folks on Reddit, okay? Oh, there's a lot of them on there. I got a list a mile long there, fucking people I blocked on Reddit because they're all MAGA. You wouldn't believe it. I've been on Reddit probably about almost 7 years, I think. Okay, almost 7 years. And I think I blocked at least, and I'm just guessing here, at least 400 to 500 people on there in that time. That's a lot. That's a lot. It may not be as many as others have blocked for different reasons, you know. But as far as when it comes to, and they're all political voices, by the way, because when I get on there and I comment on things, I'm always going to pick up somebody that's going to contradict me or try to argue the point. When I get like 500 likes or something from other people, there's always going to be this one on there that's going to try and challenge me, okay? And the minute I hear what they say and I see MAGA ideals in there mixed in, I know who they are. Close the door. You're not welcome here. But they don't like that. So yes, they weaponize the, how do I say it? They weaponize religion to indoctrinate people into MAGA or into MAGA ideology, conservatism, whatever you want to call it, okay? That's what they're doing. Because when you use the religion angle, then if they oppose what you're thinking, that, oh, that's taboo, you can't do that. We're all in this thing. You know, it's a religion. You're not allowed to think for yourself in that, okay? You're not allowed. That's why they hate people that do critical thinking. If you start that in your religion, they're going to kick your ass out quicker than shit. Okay, you know, it's Scientology. Read about Scientology. The minute people start critically thinking about what the hell we believe in and stuff and see contradictions, they punish them severely. Okay? Some of them try to escape because it gets ridiculous. People at some point will reject the indoctrination because they see the contradictions, they see the bullshit, the facade. They finally see it. Well, all religions have to require blind obedience in order to exist. They all do. Okay? I'm sorry if that insults some of you out there that are in other religions other than Christianity, but in order for that religion to exist, it depends on your faith, which is another word for blind loyalty. Okay? Even when you see something that is obviously shouldn't exist because, it can't. You know, our religion says no. It can't exist. Well, when you find yourself confronted with a contradiction and you're just, no, I'm going to admit, that's what you call blind loyalty. Okay? And your religion can't exist unless people have that skill to ignore and reprogram the brain, you know, like in 1984. No, that didn't happen. It happened this way. Okay? If you can't do that, you're of no use to the religion. See, I couldn't do that. That's why I got out of it. Okay, because I can't not be led that way. You know, I can't. Like I said, I'm the kind of person that I will only believe when I see facts. That A leads to B, leads to C, leads to D. You know, I have to have facts. It's like a juror that has to wonder if a man should be convicted of a murder or is he innocent of that murder. Cannot just go by faith. Cannot hear, people saying, well, if this happened, then that must have happened, okay? I can't hear evidence like that. No. When you're talking something serious about putting a man to death or life in prison, you've got to have all the facts. And when you're talking about making me want to change my life to do something that I don't like, or something that, I don't see the logic to, okay, I can't go there. I just can't. It's a waste of my time. So anyway, let's go to a commercial break and we shall return.
Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
Identity theft, cyber fraud, financial scams. Who has access to your personal information should be your decision, not up to Elon Musk. That's your data, your social security account, your tax return, your student loans, your VA health records.
But Elon has cracked the code. He is now inside the agencies. He's created these algorithms that are constantly crawling through the data. And
how creepy is that?
Constantly crawling through the data.
The Wall Street Journal reports that Elon Musk has a long history of drug abuse.
Did people get upset at you if you do certain things?
LSD, cocaine, ecstasy, mushrooms, and ketamine. Is this somebody you trust? This guy? Elon Musk is dangerous to you, your family, your country, your data, your life. Just say no to Elon Musk.
Can't get hard, not even with the blue pills. Will the salt trick work for me? All right, pay attention. If you're over 35 and not as firm as you should be, or if you're popping the champagne a little too early, I highly recommend the salt trick. In just 20 seconds, you can prepare this drink and your anaconda will stand tall for hours almost immediately. This homemade salt tonic has been used for years by Brahmin bull breeders in India to help them stay firm and mate with up to 20 females at once. But a few years ago, this trick fell into the hands of the adult film industry, and since then, this little secret has been used by adult actors instead of the little blue pill. That's because it works in just minutes, flushing out flaccid toxins from your body that make your buddy shrink and fail when it matters most. It may sound crazy, but this drink is 6 times more powerful than any pill from the pharmacy, and because it's natural, it has no side effects. And if you haven't heard about it yet, it's the company behind the little blue pill, starting with P, that censors anyone who talks about this cheap, homemade solution. That way, they continue raking in billions every year from the suffering of millions of men just like you. But I'm putting an end to that right now. I'm releasing the short video that shows how to prepare and use the salt trick. Back then, this video was sold for $47, or they would have taken it down immediately. But so you can start the year off right. I'm leaving this video free for the next 3 hours. In the video, it shows step by step how to prepare this 20-second trick today and leave your wife with limp legs tonight. Just click the button that's appearing somewhere in this video to watch. If a page opens, it means the video is still available, and this might be your only chance to toss the little blue pill in the trash and learn how to make this homemade, safe recipe that's 6 times more powerful than the pharmacy pill. But I should warn you, this video contains some pretty hot scenes, and it also shows an African green tonic used by tribes in North Africa to grow their tool to the point of outgrowing all their underwear. Do not use if you're already too big or satisfied with your size, and also how to eliminate the flaccid toxins that are sabotaging your hardness and shrinking your little guy like a turtle. Watch with headphones on. As I mentioned, the video is uncensored and shows exactly how this trick works to make your buddy rock hard. So click the link below and watch while it's still available.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Saw that little toy I bought her today, the snake there. She just sits and watches it. She don't play with it. Yeah, and I saw a commercial on TV. They're showing a cat playing with it. It's like, well, this cat won't play with it. She just like, you know, I'll watch it, but I ain't getting near that thing. I don't know. Every cat has a different kind of thing, toy they want to play with, you know. Okay, so I have a video from Raw News and Politics, and she's talking about how Trump voters are losing money big time here from the shenanigans that are going on there with the stock market. So let's go to the video here, and then we'll cover that on the other side.
Welcome to the show. So I watched several hours of focus group content, and I want to share with you guys what the participants had to say. So these were all Pennsylvania swing voters, meaning these people all voted for Biden in 2020, and then in 2024, they voted for Trump. So there were two groups. There were 13 people across the two groups. Here, a mix of men and women. Far more, not far more, but there were more men in these groups than the women. But here's how their party affiliation breaks down. So 3 of them consider themselves to be Democrats, 6 of them are Republicans, and 4 are independents. They asked, what is your top issue? 1 of them said health care coverage and benefits. 2 said their stock portfolio. Not doing good this week. 6 said tariffs. 3 said the wars in Gaza and Ukraine, and 1 said the economy. They also asked these people, what is the emotion that you feel when you see Donald Trump, whether you see him on your phone, on your TV, not what he's feeling, but what you feel when you see him. I'm going to run through these. So the majority, not positive for Trump. Let's just say that. Confused, sad, anger, happy, exasperated, uncertain, concerned, excited, indifferent, frustrated, unstable, good and bad, uneasy. So again, not really what you'd want to hear, especially when you're not even 100 days into your presidency. They then asked them for a word or phrase to describe the first 3 months of Donald Trump's presidency. Again, mostly good, but some not so great. So I'm going to run through these also. Presidential overload, whirlwind, well planned, determined, disheveled, all over the place, racist, confusing, frantic, productive, chaotic, shaking things up, roller coaster. They also asked, what is the most recent action you've heard of that he's taken? Again, not really good. So one said refusing people entry into the country. Another one said rehiring federal government workers that they had fired. 8 of them said tariffs, some sort of tariffs. Another one said tariffs and revoking visas. One said cutting research from universities. Another said releasing hostages in Gaza, which happened quite a while ago. So this person must be checked out. And then they asked these people, overall, do you approve or disapprove of Trump's presidency? So there's no gray area here. It has to be, do you mostly approve? Do you mostly disapprove? 9 of them said that they approve, but several said, yeah, I'm kind of iffy. They said like I'm 60-40. On the whole, I'm okay with things, but there are some things that I really, really dislike. And if things don't change, then I'll change my opinion. And then 4 said, no, I disapprove. That may not sound really great, if we want to see like everybody turning on him all at once. But again, we are not even 100 days into his presidency. But you already have 4 people saying, I disapprove. And then you have several others saying, yeah, I'm on the fence. I'm getting there. I might disapprove pretty soon because some of this is not sitting well with me. So this is moving very fast. And, he, again, as I've pointed out in other videos, he did not win by that much. So it doesn't take much to push the Republicans out if they continue to support him and these people continue to become disillusioned. They also asked these people, is Donald Trump doing too much at once and not focusing on the things that matter to you, on the issues that matter to you? 8 out of the 13 said yes. So they then asked these people, okay, complete this sentence. I think he's too focused on X when he should be focused on Y. They wanted them to fill in the blank. What is X? What is Y? Here are some of the answers. People said that he is too focused on tariffs. He should be focused on healthcare and veterans affairs. Another said that he is too focused on personal vendettas, and he should be focused on what's being taken away from U.S. citizens. Another said, yes, he's too focused on tariffs. He should be focused on inflation. Another said he is too focused on retribution and that he should be focused on stabilizing our country. Another said he's too focused on Elon Musk. I really would like to know what exactly they were getting to with that, but the moderator didn't ask. But this person also said he should be focused on preventing war. And then another said, I think he's too focused on the macro agenda and he should be focused more on the micro details. Then another one said that he's too focused on cutting money from universities. He should be more focused on high interest rates. And another said, I just think he's too focused on everything all at once, and he needs to just laser focus on the economy. So yeah, not doing what they thought he was going to do. And then they asked, how many of you think that Trump made a good case for these tariffs? 2 out of the 13 said, yeah, I think he made a good case. The other 11 were like, no, like he didn't tell us why really he's doing this, how he plans to achieve it. They want to know the time frame. They want just more details So they know, like when he says to them, oh, this is short-term pain for long-term gain, they want to know, like, what does that mean? Are you talking 3 months? Are you talking a year? Like, how long am I going to have to suffer with higher prices and losing my retirement before I see some benefit? And then they asked them, do you support or oppose his tariff actions? 6 of them said they support, 1 said oppose, and the other 6 said they don't know enough to really have an opinion. And this is a problem. This is where Democrats need to be stepping up big time right now to fill this information vacuum, because otherwise they're getting information from their friends, from social media, and it's whoever they hang around with or whoever they follow online. That's pretty much the opinion they're going to go with. Because a lot of these people, as you see, almost half do not understand tariffs enough to feel like they can make an educated decision or have an educated opinion about it. Like, some of them don't understand still that when we impose a tariff in our country on imports, we pay that. We as consumers are going to end up footing that bill because the importer then has to somehow figure out how they're going to cover that cost. And a lot of the time, they're going to pass it on to the consumer, if not the full amount, at least part of it. So Democrats need to step up. They need to be hammering this home that Trump just taxed you. What Donald Trump is doing is imposing a direct tax on you because you're going to pay every time you make a purchase. And then they asked these people, which is, I'm so glad someone finally asked this, because I hear so many Donald Trump voters saying, they just parrot what he has said. Oh, I'm willing to endure some short-term pain for long-term satisfaction and, a long-term turnaround of our economy. No one ever asked them, how long is short-term pain to you? Because if you think about it, and I have said this in multiple videos now, if you really drill down on it, it is going to take years to bring manufacturing back to our country, if ever. With what Donald Trump is doing right now and the way he's doing it, and people losing confidence and businesses seeing like it's on again, off again, on again, off again, nobody wants to invest. Nobody's willing to put their hard-earned money and the millions and millions of dollars it's going to take to build factories, to build manufacturing plants, to do all the legwork, to first find land, invest in the land, then you have to pay for the building. Oh, actually, before you even get to the building, you have to do an environmental impact report, which could take years. I mean, you find someone, you go out, you hire someone to come in, do an environmental impact report, and then you turn it over to, the county or the city or whomever it is. And they look at it and they go, no, we're not happy with this. This is too close to residential areas. This is too close to, this or that or the other. You can't build this here, or it can't be this high, or it can't have these types of emissions, or, it can't impact parking in this way, or whatever the case may be. Then you got to go back to the drawing board and you got to scale back or change things. So they're talking years, and people don't get this. So here's what some of their answers were. They asked them, what do you consider, or what, how long will short-term pain last? What do you anticipate? One of them said a minimum of 2 years, which that's more legitimate. One said 18 months to 2 years, which is not realistic. One said 6 months. Smoking dope. That one right there, smoking. Put the crack pipe down, person. I forget if that was a man or a woman, but I think it was a man. Put the crack pipe down. Back away from the crack. 2 of them said until the midterms, because they think, oh, this is going to be sewed up by the midterms, or they're going to abandon the whole idea. One said 1 year. Another said 18 months. And then some other ones were like, I don't really know. I don't know enough to know. Then they asked them, okay, if prices are up, say 10% in 3 months from now, how many of you would blame Donald Trump? 8 out of the 13 said, yes, I will blame Donald Trump. And then they asked, have your investments personally taken a hit in this past week? Because this was just done in this past week. So since Donald Trump made his announcement, but before they all went into effect, 10 out of the 13 had already had their personal finances affected by Donald Trump's just his announcement of the across the board tariffs. Then they asked them, how many of you are less anxious now about the economy since Donald Trump took office? So how many of you are less anxious since Biden's been out, Donald Trump is in? Only 3 of them are less anxious. They then asked, how many of you are more anxious about the economy since Donald Trump took office? 8 out of 13. And then only 2 said, I'm about the same. I was anxious then, I'm anxious now. So they went back and asked some of these people who said, I am more anxious now, but they had previously said they approve of his job performance overall. So they're like, how do you square that? You know, you're saying you're more anxious than you were before, but you like what he's doing. So here's some of the answers that were given. One of them said that they primarily voted for him based on international issues like the wars, but they were thinking that he would do a better job of repairing the economy. So this person was pretty happy with how he's handling foreign affairs, which is like, are you insane? Seriously? Like, we're on the verge of starting a war with Iran, and you're happy with how he's dealing with international affairs? Just no logic here. And then one of them said that I agree with him on other things he's doing, but I'm not happy about these tariffs. So, and I should point out the one person, if I'm remembering this correctly, the one who said, I'm happy with how he's handling foreign affairs, it was a woman who is happy with how he's dealing with people in our country, people in the United States, like students who are protesting the attack on the Palestinian people, the slaughter of Palestinian children. This was her big issue. She's happy that Donald Trump is pulling their visas and trying to kick these people out of the country. So I would like to ask this woman, if I ever had a chance to talk with her, what if the shoe was on the other foot? What if we had a pro-Palestinian president in office, and this pro-Palestinian president said, anyone who speaks out against Hamas, the terrorist group, you're anti-Palestinian. If you speak out against the terrorist organization Hamas, then you must hate all Palestinian people. And that doesn't align with my policies as a pro-Palestinian president. So I am now going to revoke the green cards and visas of every international student that is in our country because they pose a risk to what we want as a country and my authority and my rules and my executive orders. And so I am kicking out every Israeli, every Jewish person who speaks out against Hamas because they must be anti-Palestinian. That is the same thing. That is exactly what is happening here. So this woman, not thinking. So here's my thoughts beyond that. Some of these people are just clearly delusional. I mean, a couple of them, or one in particular that I remember, said, something about him lowering healthcare costs. He is not going to lower healthcare costs. He's never talked about that. He said he had concepts of a plan. He has not talked about healthcare since he took office. I don't know what this person is thinking, but Donald Trump and the Republican Party are never, ever, ever going to lower your healthcare costs. They will never do it. It's not on their agenda. They don't care. They truly don't care. The only thing you might get from them is taking away healthcare. And then other people, they just absolutely do not make sense in regard to tariffs. And this is not just with this group, not just with these focus groups, but I mean, this is what I see online too, on Reddit especially. I mean, they talk out of both sides of their mouth. They're, oh, Donald Trump, he wants to bring manufacturing back, but he's using these tariffs as a negotiating tool. Negotiate for what? You don't negotiate to get tariffs down if you're trying to bring manufacturing back. That defeats the whole purpose. The purpose is to make it painful for the American people to buy international goods, to buy things and source materials from other countries so that you will bring manufacturing back and increase jobs in America. I don't think these people understand at all. I don't know. I just I could tell there was one guy in one of these two groups who does get it, who does understand. And he was like shaking his head, rolling his eyes when other people were talking. I mean, I felt for him. I really did. I was hoping he'd speak up more, but yeah, I think they tell you, going in, like, don't take issue with what each other says. Like, nobody is wrong in here. We're all free to speak, blah, blah, blah. But yeah. Anyway, I will let you know there will be more focus groups coming out this weekend. I'll keep you guys posted. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.
Hey, I lost my retirement. I lost my home and my health care, but I own the libs. I mean, that's kind of how it is, I think, when you think about it. They sacrificed their whole life and their stability that they had under Biden just so they can make a win during the election, okay, and own the libs. That was the most important thing, was owning the libs. Talk about a plan that blew up in their face. Holy Jesus. It's almost cartoonish in a way that they walked right into that trap. That trap that was so easily seen. God, I can't believe how people just did not see this. Even the Democrats out there that stayed home and not voted. Okay? Either they didn't realize how severe the trap was going to be, or they were just so fucking arrogant, that they said, fuck it. I don't care what happens to the country. Either way, it was a trap that could have been avoided, but we deliberately stepped in it. Okay? Wholeheartedly. Well, maybe not wholeheartedly. I mean, there was a lot of people that didn't vote for Trump, but let's just say that, enough people did to get him in there. Whether it was done legally or illegally, I don't know which. Okay, like I said in the last video, we don't know really all the facts, but let's just say for the sake of argument that it was legally. We willingly stepped into it, and now those who were so willing are now very unwilling. Okay? And here's the thing. I mean, we're talking about the trade deficit, or at least Trump's been talking about that. It's like, we buy a ton of stuff from China, and they don't buy nothing from us. So let's put a tariff on them. It's like, Trump, listen to what you just said. China buys very little from the United States, but the United States buys a lot from China, okay? Why do you think that is? Did he ever stop and think about that for a second? I can tell you, maybe I can lead him in the right direction, if he was willing to listen. The United States doesn't make a whole lot, okay? We used to. when the rest of the world didn't have much to make, okay, and this is going back, you know, like right after World War II. The United States was a powerhouse in industry and had factories and all kinds of stuff, and we were selling everywhere, okay? But over time, after we helped these nations to recover, the ones that, you know, were damaged severely during the war, they started to build up their own things. China started to come back. I mean, because, hey, they suffered during, World War II as well when they were fighting Japan. Japan nearly had their asses handed to, you know, nearly kicked China right out. But after the war was over, China rebuilt, and, you know, they started making factories and everything, and hey, everything kept building all around. On the other hand, the United States, you know, was having its fights with workers and the need for workers to get paid more, to have benefits and stuff like that. And so as a response to that, which took time, they said, fuck the United States, we're going to close our factories and we're going to move over there to these other countries and do it. Well, after a while, you had that whole trend of that doing that, okay? And then we had NAFTA, and we had the pig sucking sound going to Mexico. Okay, remember all that shit? I'm fast forwarding here, okay? All of that led to the United States becoming less of a powerhouse in industry and making things, and everybody else surpassed us. So naturally, we were going to buy stuff from these countries. All right? You can't blame people for buying there. If they're making something you like, they're going to buy, right? So why get mad? Americans, you know, sure, it's nice if Americans would buy American. They would if they could, but they can't because there's nothing being made here. And if something is being made here still, it's very expensive to the Americans. It should be expensive to other countries if they want to buy it, but why make it so expensive for the Americans to have? If you want them to buy your stuff that's made in America, then you should make it competitive to prices that other countries are selling things similar to, okay? Make it cheaper. But as you can see, you know, Trump instead is looking at this totally in the wrong direction, okay? You don't put tariffs up until you got factories. You got this country booming again, which means you build the factories first. That country's making cars. Well, let's start making car factories now, okay? Then we can make our own cars, right? That country's selling us, I don't know, vegetables or something. So let's get the farmers going. Let's get the farmers doing stuff so we can get our own stuff, okay? Then once you got all these things going in this country that we've been buying other stuff from these other countries for, okay, now is the time. You could start talking tariffs. I mean, if your goal is to shut this country off from buying from other countries, that's how you start that. But of course, that takes years. Like they said in the video, it takes years to create an industry that we've torn apart. It'll actually take longer to rebuild that industry than it did to destroy it, to dismantle it. But at the same time, you have to create an incentive for people wanting to make factories in this country. Because what was the reason they left here? The companies that had factories, why did they leave? It was the cost, the expense, too high. Workers wanted too much money. Okay, well, how do you stop that? Well, make the cost of living less. Okay, and then they won't be bitching about, give me more money, give me more money. If you keep jacking up the prices of things in this country, people will never make enough money to survive here, and they're always going to be crying, I need more money. So how do you stop that? You reverse that fucking thing. You back it up. Okay? Lower the costs. So that way, what peanuts you're giving them to live on is going to feel like a lot. When bread can go down to less than $1 a loaf. Okay? And you can get toilet paper for 87 cents for 4. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Then that dollar is going to last a whole lot longer. And then all of a sudden they ain't going to be crying so much anymore about, well, I need more money. Okay? Doesn't that sound more logical to you than the way Trump is going about this? Why people think that he's being so smart here is really, because when it comes to economic methods, okay, it shouldn't be so hard to explain to people what you're doing that makes you think that, oh, this is going to work. If it's such a good thing, then you would take the time to explain it to people instead of letting them all stew in their own shit, getting angrier and angrier, because this is working against Trump now. He backed away from those tariffs for 90 days, okay, because he saw that, oh, Japan's selling the bonds, American bonds, okay? That wasn't a good thing, because, that's going to hurt the value of our dollar even more, okay? And that's why he stopped that. We put that pause, a 90-day pause, which, everybody's saying, oh, now he's caved, okay? Well, whatever you want to call it, okay? It got people nervous. But we were already saying he's doing this all wrong, okay? He's going about this the wrong way. So we're seeing that his idea is not so smart after all right? At this point, we're not seeing that. Sure, the rich got richer here for a bit, but hey, that's not helping making America great again, because people still think that trickle-down economic, that doesn't work. It's already been proven. So the rich will keep on that. They'll keep their money at the top, not trickling down to us, okay? They're going to get wealthier. They're going to reinvest it in themselves, and we're going to be left out of it, okay? So who is America to Trump? It ain't the poor. It ain't the working class. It's only the rich. They are America. The rest of us are just shit. We're the sewage. And he's trying to wash us out into the ocean. That's what America, when he says make America great again, he's talking to people, and it ain't the ones wearing the hats, by the way. Okay, he's talking to people who are just the wealthy, that play the stock market. Okay? The people that are in the stock market, they're the ones that are going to get better again. And I question whether calling these people American is even fair, because they don't even want to pay their taxes, for Christ's sake. Anyone that bitches about paying taxes when we have all these programs that are designed to help this country, okay, can't really be all American. As far as I'm concerned, MAGA as a whole is just a fucking terrorist group living in this country. They're not American. Every one of their citizenships ought to be revoked, as far as I'm concerned, and ICE can go collect them. All right, but this is the way it is. But but Trump doesn't care about the people that are upset right now about being left out of this. He doesn't care. You don't see anything. He's not saying anything to anybody to try to, smooth over his relations with MAGA. He's just, chucking along here, like a train on rails. I mean, he's just moving right along. Ain't gonna stop. Okay. As soon as this 90-day pause is over, or however long, he's gonna be right back at it again. Okay, because it worked out so well for the wealthy, he's going to try it all over again. Okay, so I don't see why anyone thinks that he's being smart, because it doesn't look smart. It's not being smart. We're not seeing the big results that he's promised that he was going to see. People are still waiting with their hands out. Okay, people are still waiting, holding their breath as time goes on. People are out of work, trying to make ends meet, because and some of these people that lost their job didn't lose just shit jobs, they lost good jobs. Okay, talking about government workers, essential people in this country that do things for America and Americans. I mean, we can't lose these people. And then some business people, was it yesterday or the day before, were saying, oh, Trump is insane. Yeah, you're goddamn right, he's insane. And these are the words coming out of business people. So, for everyone in MAGA, like I was saying about blind loyalty, to believe that this one man is destined to save this country, it's like, thinking Barney is here to save your children. Okay, come on. If there's any destiny for Trump, it's infamy. He's going to destroy this country. Okay? When people hold a person up to that kind of fucking level, they're going to always be disappointed, especially in a cult mentality. They're always disappointed. You know, everybody thought Hitler was the thing back then. And then, you know, what, 4 or 5 years later, look what happened to their whole country. Decimated. So, you know, whenever we put our faith to that level on somebody, you're going to get disappointed. And we do this all the time. Not just with presidents and politicians, but with just regular people like policemen, you know, religious leaders. You know, we put so much, oh, these people are good people, they're great, they're such nice person. And then we find out they've raped and killed, you know, children or something like that. Okay, forget it. Stop pretending that human beings can be like that. We're all flawed. We're all flawed, every damn one of us. There's no good person out there to listen to. Okay? Jesus. When you accept that every person can be a potential killer or a rapist or something like that, your eyes will open better to what humanity really is. Okay? We haven't evolved enough yet to be able to achieve that kind of regard amongst each other. We haven't got there yet. We're still 2-3 steps away from Stone Age fucking people beating women over the head with clubs, you know, and stuff. Okay? We ain't there yet. We can dream about being like that one day, but it's not today. Okay? It ain't today. And that's why, you know, when I tell people, you know, things are going to get so bad that we're going to see some violence out there on the streets, and they're saying, no, people don't do it. Okay, it's like you guys still think that, oh, we've evolved so much that we you know, no. Hey, like I said, what happened after 9/11? I mean, we were so pissed. We did not care where our revenge was going to take us. We were willing to wipe out half the Middle East. Okay? And we damn near did. You know, all we needed was somebody to push the fucking buttons. That's all we needed. And they were happy to oblige. You know? So, you know, like I said, we can be blindly obedient to somebody. We can also be blindly misled. All right? And when people can be blind about anything like that, and when they're angry, the anger alone will blind you. And when people are so mad because somebody's taking away their status in life, their economic stability, yeah, they're going to get violent. Expect that. I mean, if we didn't think that, why do we have a police force? Okay? Because we know. I mean, some of us know that we still have a violent nature. Even the most kind person and everything you might know, there's a line they won't cross. Okay? And if they're forced to cross it, that person will turn into a fucking demon. Okay? And that's why I'm saying there's people out there right now who have already or might just about, you know, to cross that line. Some already have. That's why you got Tesla, you know, setting cars on fire, going after the dealerships and stuff. Some people have already crossed that line. Have we, you know, and each one of them will tell you something what pushed them over the edge. Okay, but if it's already happening, how many more of these fucking games that Trump's playing is going to go on until more people, and it won't be Teslas that they vandalize, it'll be something else. Okay. I mean, right now, I mean, it's making the Black Lives Matter movement look tame. Okay? And so I just feel like this is, you know, this is not a good thing to see happening right now, and it's not something that you can send Pam Bondi in and threaten them to 20 years to life or whatever for doing. No. It's, you know, she'd have to lock up half the fucking country because, you know, we're getting to the point where there ain't enough fucking prisons to put people up. I mean, even El Salvador is going to have a limit here to how much they can take if you're going to start, you know, kicking everybody out of this country that doesn't like your president. I mean, think about it. No. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I'll tell you, before it gets to that point, people will already take up arms to stop it. Okay? They're not going to watch themselves getting escorted out on their ear by a bunch of people wearing Captain America shirts, you know, okay, ICE agents or whatever. They're not going to sit back and let that happen, okay? Some of these people, you know, you got to keep in mind, people are creative. Remember all the houses that keep blowing up all the time? What do you think they'll do with those gas bottles they got there? Okay, you know, if things get crunch time, okay, there's a lot of damage that can be wrought before anything can, you know, before Trump could get his way, you know. And I'm just saying, I'm not saying that, you know, that this is okay. I'm just saying I know how bad people can be, okay? And if you're not sure about that, let's look at other countries and what they do when they're faced with injustice and how far they go, okay? If you think that, oh, because we're American, we can't be like that, you're wrong. We're all human beings, every one of us, no matter what country we're from, okay? We're all still human beings when you all have the same emotions. We don't like injustice. We don't like people taking away our shit that we busted our ass for. We don't like that. Any rich person out there would feel exactly the same thing if somebody showed up on their fucking door and took away all their riches. You think they wouldn't pick up a gun and fight back? Of course they would. Of course they would. They'd use whatever fucking means they have to stop it. Okay? So we're all, at the end of the day, in the same fucking position. You know, we all have the same emotions. We all have that line that's there that we try not to cross, but if someone pushes us over that line, that's it. We push back. Trump's pushing us pretty damn close to that line. For some of us, they've already gone over that line. It's dangerous times here for everybody, you know. And if it can happen in other countries, it can happen here. America is no better than any other country. All right, I know we've been told otherwise, okay? And sure, we've done great things. We've also done bad things, okay? But we're a young country, and we're still finding our way. And at the same time, we got, you know, opposition in our own borders. And so, like every other country, you know, every once in a while, a revolution happens, or a civil war breaks out, okay? When things get so conflicted that people have to fight it out in order to have it settled, it happens. It fucking happens. There's nothing bad about it, I think, in a way. It's human nature. You know, when the words don't work anymore, we go to our fists. Doesn't that make sense? Okay? When the words don't work anymore, we resort to our fists. Okay? And we try not to. We do everything we can to avoid that. But at the end of the day, for some, it's just we can't get there. We can't get there yet. We can't get there yet with the words. Because sometimes the people you're trying to talk to don't want to listen. And what happens when they're not listening and they want to keep fucking up your life? Well, it boils down to survival, you know, survival. And people in this country, everybody, whatever you have, I know you worked hard for it, and you don't deserve having somebody take that away from you, no matter who the hell it is that's doing it. Whether it's a cop or ICE or the president, that's not right. It's a wrong, it's an injustice, it's unfair, and that shouldn't happen, but it does. And if they frown on you trying to fight to protect it, then they're being ridiculous. Okay? They're not understanding what they're doing and how they don't even care from your point of view how that looks. All that matters to them is they were told to do something and they're going to do it. Okay? We've done that a lot. Okay? I'm trying to think. All those people that lost their homes during the, when was it? It's 2007 when the housing market crashed and the police were taking homes. You know, banks were foreclosing on the homes. The anxiety level will get like that for you know, one of these people who lost a home that they spent their whole life paying for, okay, and then some cop shows up with a piece of paper, says, okay, this doesn't belong to you anymore, you got to be out of here by the end of the week. Okay, can you imagine the anger For some people, that anger is all it needs to push them over the line. We're going to see a lot of that coming. All right, so that's it for today. I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. So please subscribe, comment, share. Keep your ears open for health issues. And be helpful neighbors. And watch out for everybody and be kind. So we'll talk to you guys later, and take care, everybody.